When the products are received, we now go to the section called Receiving. That's the 300 section on the menu tree. Like the purchase order system, you've got your list of open receiving tickets. Down at the bottom, we can click on Open, Received, Post to Accounting, or Voided. And as each button is clicked, it shows us the items that have been received here. And then these are the ones that we've actually posted to accounting. But let's go back to Open, and we're going to start a new receiving ticket. Now the first thing we're going to do is say that it's from NTP because that's where the order came in from. And once we've selected this supplier, if we come over here on the PO numbers, it has drilled down to the open purchase order numbers from that supplier. So in this case, it's very easy. I only have one purchase order from that supplier. And I just have to click the Import button. Now notice when we imported that purchase order, we now have the same alert popping on our receiving ticket. And now you can see how this alert is following this order through the system. We'll just click OK. And we're now ready to receive these parts. So in this case here, we have a packaging ratio of 24, and it's highlighted in orange to warn us. We have another warning over here in red for our bin location, means that we don't have a bin set up in the parts inventory for this, where we're going to put it. I'm going to go ahead and say that we received one quantity. And if this was an order for 10 items, and I only received one of the 10 items, I could determine whether or not I want to back order the other 9, or I just want to adjust them off. And you use the adjustment when you just know you're not going to get these parts from that supplier, or it's a type of supplier that does not handle back order requests. For example, a supplier may send you what they have at this point in time. And instead of in their computer system knowing that they still need to send you 9 more, they say that the order is completed by what they have shipped. So when you receive that one, it is your responsibility to reorder for the 9 more. So that's what the 2 columns for back order and adjustment are. If you have a supplier that will handle the back order and ship you the remaining parts, just go in and tell it that, hey, these additional parts are going to be back ordered. If not, and you have to do your own reorder, or there are special circumstances and you know you're not going to get them, just adjust them off on the quantity there. Here it tells us if that item was a drop ship, so we know that it was actually not delivered to us, it was delivered to the customer. And then here's the cost. So if we're looking at an invoice at this point in time and the cost of this is changed, we can change that cost right here on this receiving ticket. Now, being able to change the cost on a receiving ticket is a security permission, and it is not given out to most employees. But in normal circumstances, when you're receiving this new order, you normally will only have a packing slip and it won't have prices on it. Now we get to the bin location. We have to assign this part a bin. Now, if we had multiple bins on file, we could click the bin button and we'd see different bins. So we have a bin already associated with this part. Let me just use that one. And I can get to the comments column and type in any comments that I need to notate about this part. The plus or minus 20% field is a very important column. If the cost of this part jumps more than 20%, in this case here, the part jumped to $10. You can see over here in my warning is that it says that the average cost of this part was normally $5.26 and it jumped to $10. So if you see something in this plus or minus 20% change, you need to look at the cost of that part and say what happened. Normally, this is a packaging ratio issue. We are selling these as eaches. So our extended cost of $240 is based on 24 eaches. And sometimes users will input the package cost. So if they're ordering 3 packages and they typed in the cost of that package as being $100 a package, the computer may be interpreting it that you're changing it from a $5 part to a $100 part. So keep an eye on this 20% change, because that is saying that maybe you have the wrong part number, you have the wrong packaging ratio for that part number, or cost associated with that part. And then we get to the info button, which has been demonstrated in the PO and parts invoicing, which gets you right to that part, so you can start to look at information about the part and make any determinations based on the information that's already on file. If I went over here to the receiving quantity, and we had ordered just one of these, and I put it in as 4, notice that the entire line item turns yellow. That's a warning saying on this part we only ordered one, but we received 4 of them. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you wanted to do, but it does seem odd that you put an order in for one of them and you use this PO, but you received 4. Now maybe you called up on the telephone and asked the supplier to send you an additional 3, and that was never recorded on the PO, so you're making the adjustment here. But we would suggest, for good, tidy parts inventory control, that if that ever does happen, that you go back into the original purchase order and change the quantity to the quantity that you have ordered. When we get down into the bottom section here, we have our totals, and showing the total for what we're ordering gives again our on-hand total on order, and this will all get adjusted when we say receive, because even though we've typed this information in onto this ticket, we have not clicked the receive now button. If this is a very long receiving ticket with hundreds if not thousands of parts on it, I don't have to click the receive now. I can hit close, come back, reopen the ticket, and start where I left off before I close the ticket. Again, if there are lots of parts on here and I've typed in any of them that have been received, I can click up here on a checkbox that says hide received parts. And you see my one received part just disappeared. Now this is very useful on very long orders. So if you've got 100 items on this and you've received about 20 of them, and you don't want to go filtering down through the ones that have been received and haven't been received, you click that button and it takes those off the screen. It doesn't take them off the receiving ticket, they're still there. As soon as you uncheck that checkbox, they're going to come back. Now, you've got the same yellow filter bar. And in the example we're showing, there's nothing really to filter because there's only one part. But if you can imagine a parts receiving ticket with hundreds or thousands of parts on there, and you need to find a specific part, then you could type that into the yellow filter bar. You could also sort the column headings to display the information to make it easier to receive those large receiving tickets. View the allocation at this point shows you where these parts that you have received. Normally on the allocation button, it will show you every part that's allocated. But in this case here, allocation is more important for us to know, was this part here allocated to any employee or customer? So in this case, the allocation says, no, it's not. But if it were a special order and I click the allocation, I can now notify that service manager that says, hey, this part is in. I can also click the view customer. If it was allocated to a specific customer, when I click the view customer, I could then send that customer an email that says your part has been received. Another useful feature for when you're receiving very large orders is the back order parts. Once you've filled in all of the items that you have ordered, any items that you did not fulfill completely, you don't have to go in and type in the back order quantity. You can just say back order, and the computer will go through every part on the system that did not get received in full and set the back order quantity. If you know that you've got a complete order, and instead of going through every part number and typing in the quantity that you received, you can just receive all parts. And the computer system will fill in the quantity received all the way down. And you can even use that on a large order. So possibly you've got 100 parts on this receiving ticket, and 99 of them are received in full. So I could say receive all parts, and then just find that one part and adjust its received quantity and enter in the back order amount. If there are any images that you want to scan, such as a copy of the packing slip or any other documents, you could go ahead and use the scan image feature. Now this only works if you are using Infinity on a local drive that's connected to a scanner. Otherwise, you will have to scan the image and then upload it, and then you'll be able to see those images through the View Images section. You can print this receiving ticket, and when you're ready, you can say Receive Now. The computer's going to prompt you, say, are you sure you'd like to receive this entire receiving ticket at this time? And I'm going to say yes. And now what that's going to do is going to take this part and add this quantity here to my master inventory. And now it's going to ask me, do I want to print barcode labels? Infinity has built-in barcode fonts. So you can have a label machine and the computer will print out barcode labels. So in this case here, if I have received 4 and there are 24 of them in a pack, that's going to be 96 items. So if I say yes, I can tell the computer to print off 96 barcodes. And I can also specify on that barcode whether I want the retail price on there, if I want the bin location, if I want the part description on it. So you can customize that part's barcode so that it has your barcode on it. This is also useful in large corporations. Even though parts are coming in from the manufacturer already stamped with a barcode on it, once the barcode is printed and placed on the part, you now know that that part has been registered into the computer system. So it's just one additional indicator to help large corporations know that the parts were stocked in through the computer system correctly. Now, if I say no to this, that doesn't mean I won't print the barcodes for this. The system automatically knows that this part needs a barcode printed for it. So when I say no, it's going to put that part number over into our barcode holding file, and I may come back later in the day and click print the barcodes and get an entire batch of barcodes, and then have somebody just fix those to each one of the individual parts. Let's go ahead and close this ticket out. Now, that receiving ticket is no longer in our open list because it's been received in full. So let's go to the receiving section, and we can find our receiving ticket by sorting them. And it's the one right there at the top. I'm going to open this up. So the parts inventory now has this in stock. But we have a variance between what accounting says we have in inventory and what the parts department has in inventory for dollar values because we haven't posted this ticket to the accounting. The reason why this is a separate step is that there might be freight charges or adjustments that are coming in on the invoice. So the accounting clerk comes in and opens up this receiving ticket, and she's going to just switch it to open. Says yes. So it temporarily opens this invoice up, and we can put some freight on there. And the cost of the freight, $20. May even make an adjustment that this cost here was not $10, it was $6. And she gets this receiving ticket all in line to match the invoice. So when she is ready and has this adjusted, she can also come down here and set due dates for when the invoice needs to be paid. And if it's paid before a certain date, you get a discount, and even put in the discount percentage or a discount amount. So she's ready. She'll hit Receive Now. She's not worried about any bin locations because all she's adding is the freight, and yes, she wants to receive it. And now the button for Receive Now has changed to Post to Accounting. Now, she wouldn't have to do any of this if the ticket matched the invoice dollar for dollar and there weren't any changes to it. We went through a few steps to show you how your accounting person can easily modify this receiving ticket to get it to match up for the exact amount that's on the invoice. And this says the receiving ticket has been marked as posted to accounting. Now it's even dropped off the receiving list, and it's over here in the Post to Accounting. Now when we posted this to accounting, it's automatically created the accounts payable in the accounting department for her to go ahead and pay that supplier or have the accounts payable clerk write the check for that supplier. Let's go back to our open tickets. If we have a receiving ticket that we want to void, just go into the receiving section, go to the external status, and just change the status to void. And what this is telling you is that you're moving the ticket from a received status back to an open or voided, and it's going to take those parts back out of inventory. So in this case here, we received 10 of this part number, and so it's going to go into inventory and take that 10 out. So if you see down here, we have 20 on hand currently. Once we void this ticket, that part will go back to 10 on hand. So I'm just going to say yes, and you notice that it turns all in red, and I'm going to hit the close button. That's how easy it is to void it. You must have security permissions to be able to go down and select the status of void. If I want to see the voided tickets, I can click on void, and there are the tickets that I have been voiding.